Hey, so here we are. We are going to motorize our truck. So the truck is ready. I've stuck a skewer to help me figure out how to where I want this back hole to be. And once I get it straight looking, looks pretty straight. What I want to do is get ready to place the motor in here. Now, one thing that often causes trouble is how to attach to these motor tabs. Now, I've 3D printed these double-ended pieces that now these ones are a little bit tight, but what I'm able to do is get it on so that the motor is able to connect to a dowel rod. I'm not going to need much dowel rod since this is already wider than the truck that I made, which was poor planning on my part. But this dowel rod is the connector that I'm going to be using. You could choose to 3D print a piece that directly attaches to the motor. You just need to plan out the sizes a little bit more wisely than I did here. Well, I've got the holes on both sides. I'm going to make sure I attach these, get a short length of dowel rod, so I'll have to cut these off. And the wheel that I'm going to use was made in a CNC machine. I can show you how to make one of these really quickly. The machine just drilled a hole and then put a circle around it, and this is going to be perfectly round for us. There's not going to be any wobble to it. So when you first get one of these motors, the first thing kids always want to do is they want to make the connection and they want to wire it all up and see it run. Well, that's a mistake normally, because if you connect all of these wires, and here I am stripping the wire, if you try to connect all the wires with the battery pack and everything else that you need, here's the switch. If you try to connect all this right now, what you'll end up doing is you'll be trying to work it all in the back of this together, and it won't work very well. So I recommend that you keep it loose and just keep the wires disconnected until everything is in place, so that you wire it together one time and then we won't accidentally pull the wires off of the motor mounts down here. So let me make some holes right around these axles that will fit our piece, and we'll proceed from that. So there are holes in there. I made some squares. I'm going to take the piece and try to work it in there, and it's able to get in the holes pretty easily. I want to make sure that the motor is in a place where I can pretty easily access it, access the wires that is. So I'm going to have it facing forward in this case. Now I've got one axle sticking out. Now they're both sticking out. One side has a dowel rod. I'm going to add the other dowel rod to this side, and I'm going to hot glue this down. The wires are still somewhat accessible right here. After I glue this down, we're going to be wiring it up. So now I have my motor mounted inside of there. I've got the dowel rods on both sides ready to go, and I created a little access panel right here so I could work on these wires a little more easily. Now these wires are not stripped. You can see that they still have the red and black insulation all over them. I'm strong enough to do it with my fingers. You might need to use a wire stripper, or sometimes you can use a pair of scissors, a pair of pliers if you're careful. And what you need to do is strip those wires so you just have bare wire sticking out. So now I've got just a little bit of bare wire. And what's going to happen is I'm going to wire my switch and my battery pack onto this motor right here. So the battery pack has a red wire as well. And before I do anything else, I'm going to put some batteries in here and double check that if I connect the red wire to the red wire, the truck is driving forward. If the truck is not driving forward, I need to reverse that. So before I connect these wires and make them permanent together, I'm going to double check that red and red make the truck drive forward. If I've flipped the motor over, then it'll just drive reverse. I will just simply have to connect black to red and red to black. So now here's the test. Black on black, red, and the truck is driving forward. That's all I needed to test. I'm going to now place the batteries in here and make the wires go through the same little access panel so I can work on them together. Great, so now I've got the wires in here. I've got the black and the black twisted together. I've exposed quite a bit of wire so that they can really get twisted up, and I'm going to wrap some electrical tape around it. I want to cover all of the metal so that there is no metal that can be showing anywhere. This will help prevent shorts. And what a short is when the electricity doesn't have to go through the motor or the load, and it can just go straight from the red side of the battery to the black side of the battery. So carefully and as tight as I can, I'm getting this taped up. Now that cannot be accessed, the black wire and the black wire are totally together. What I'm going to do right now is push the red and the red wire together, and if I had all 4 batteries in here, you would see that this is running again. Now, I don't want to have the truck running all day and all night. I want to be able to stop this thing with a switch. So what I need to do is take these red wires apart. It turns off the truck. When the red wires are together, the truck is on. Now it's off. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a switch in the way. So I have these little switches that are very, very convenient to use. And what makes them awesome are these little black wires that will help you connect them. So this black wire will fit on this spade. This black wire obviously fits on this one. And when the switch is on, these wires are connected to each other. So it's a closed loop. And when the switch is off, these wires are disconnected. So you don't have to break a wire or anything like that. You can just tell the switch, okay, turn on or turn off, and it will happen. The switch is going to go on the side of the truck. Really, it can go anywhere. Maybe it's going to look like a door handle right here. And so carefully, I'm going to cut a hole that is the size of the switch, and I'm going to try to glue it in place. And I'm going to try to get these wires out through this little access panel. Once we're done wiring it, we can shove all those wires back in. But for now, it's really handy to have them sticking out the side. So the panel is cut. It's just a rectangle that's about the size of the switch. And before I put it in place, as I push it in place, my wires are coming out. So I'm going to keep it loose like that for now. Now to connect these wires, it's not very complicated. It doesn't actually matter which wire connects to the 2 red wires here. So if I take this black wire and twist it up with the red wire, and take this black wire and do the same, what's going to happen is when the switch is on, it will connect all the wires to each other, and when the switch is off, it'll be like the wires are broken. So let me try that again on this side. Twisting these little wires up can be kind of tricky sometimes. Takes some practice. Now that these are tight, I'm going to cover them soon, but let me try the switch. Hey, great. So let me get some tape on here. Once I have these taped up, and I've tested it. I'm going to cram it back through that hole and get this switch in place. We're almost done. Great, so these are taped. They're going to go back in to the truck. And the switch, because I made the switch hole just the right size, it seats right into the side of the truck, just like so. I can choose what I do with the batteries here. I could glue them to the side. I could, if my head made it larger, I probably would place it horizontally inside of the truck bed. But because I made it such a strange size, I think what I'm going to do is just kind of place it sideways for now. And if it's a problem, I will kind of fix it later. So here's on. There's off. The CNC wheels, which only take a few moments to make, can simply press on. And off we go.